Hi, I'm Don. Welcome to my studio.
In my last video, we painted my very first Plague Marine. So most of you know, or at least people that were subscribed in the channel for a while now, know that I'm really a gunpla painter and I'm just into miniatures for the past like 8 months. So basically, I painted my first Death Guard, the icon bearer, like I would paint my mecha or gunpla, and it turned out okay. So today we paint Zenithal and a bit of introduction into inks, and we're painting my Typhus. I'm not really new to Zenithal underpainting because I also do it on my gunpla, but we'll try to make it a bit more fancy today. I think air paints. Air paints are model air, game air, and mecha colors. Around 3 to 4 parts paint and 1 part thinning sauce. I have a ton of videos on how I thin my paints for airbrushing. You should check them out. If you don't have an airbrush, you could actually use a black primer and then paint white primer on top of the black primer at a like 45-degree angle, basically painting the top side and the sides of the model and making sure that you keep the undersides of the model black. But for those who have an airbrush, I highly recommend you paint it like this so that you'll have smoother transitions and like more volume to your model. Notice that I don't use just black primer and then paint white on top of that, because most people know that if you paint white paint on top of the black primer, you'll produce like a chalky effect. It's not really nice. So the trick is, so that you don't need to be a master in airbrushing, you just have to use a lot of gray tones or gray colors in between the black and the white paint. Even here, we're painting the groundwork or the soil. We're using 2 colors or 2 paints. You could actually just use one, but using more colors means you'll produce a more complex looking model, and a complex looking model looks really interesting and like top notch or high end painting, but basically you're just using more paints. Now we paint Game Airborne White. It's also thinned around 4 parts paint and 1 part thinning sauce. And we paint it like around areas that really needs to pop, because the helmet is white. Typhus helmet is white. And then we also paint certain sections bone white so that those sections will pop later once we do the coloring. So we're painting like the fart coming out of the pipes of Typhus really light. We also painted the Nurgling light and the helmets, like the ultramarine helmets on the base. And now we're painting white on top of, well, basically off-white. Off-white is warm white. It's lighter than ivory, but it's still a warm white color. And it looks great as an undercoat for green flow and everything that you want to be warmer. Now we do Vallejo Inks. Vallejo Inks are awesome. They're actually weird because they stain a lot. Like if you apply it on a surface without thinning them, they'll really going to stain that surface. Actually, even if you thin them, like here, we thin the sepia a bit more than the black. But even if you thin them, they really stain a lot. So they're perfect for glazing. But we're not using a glaze medium as of now. We're just thinning it with thinner. You could also thin them with water. Quick note or quick tip with inks: if you don't blend the edges of the inking or the inks, they will produce very nasty watermarks. Unless you add medium to the inks, you'll produce medium marks. Seriously though, that's the only caveat to using inks. They really stain a lot, thus you have to blend the edges so that you won't produce nasty watermarks. The main advantage of using inks is that they remain transparent even over darker areas, thus they won't look foggy and like washes. Other than thinning your inks or adding medium, a great tip in using inks is to wet the whole surface. So once the whole surface is wet, you could apply the inks and you won't produce nasty watermarks. At this point of the video, I am applying the black ink around. It's the second coat already. Make sure to dry in between coats. Thin down inks, much more unthinned inks, are really great for creating shadows and adding contrast to your minis. Also, inks are super awesome with mediums, and I'll show you that effect once we paint this Typhus in my next video. So glazing inks or using inks with a glazed medium over Zenithal Undercoat will be our next video for this Typhus model. That's it, a fancier way to do Zenithal Undercoat with more colors and an introduction to Vallejo Inks.
That's it, we're done. I hope you liked the video. Do like, comment, subscribe, and consider joining the channel so that you'll be part of our Discord community. Saludos!